What if the way you've been taught to think about money, about jobs, even about education, what if it's actually holding you back from real financial freedom? Imagine having two mentors, like two guides in your life. One follows that traditional path, the secure route, but the other, totally different, blazing a trail to wealth, doing things completely differently. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's this massively influential personal finance book. Came out back in 1997.
Oh, yeah, huge. It became one of the world's most famous sort of financial self-help guides pretty quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our deep dive today, it's based on key parts of this book. It uses this really compelling story style. It contrasts the very different financial lessons Robert Kiyosaki says he learned from two father figures.
The Rich Dad and the Poor Dad.
Yeah. So our mission here is to unpack the core lessons, figure out why it resonated so much, understand its strengths, but also maybe touch on some of the criticisms too.
Definitely. Give everyone a good, solid overview.
Right. By the end, you should have a concise but, thorough understanding of why this book is still sparking conversations.
Yeah.
Okay, so to really get into it, we got to start with the main thing, the two dads.
The core premise.
Exactly. So Kiyosaki introduces his biological father, who he calls Poor Dad.
Yeah.
This guy was highly educated, had PhDs even, and he really believed in the traditional way.
The standard advice.
Yeah. Study hard, get a good, stable job, work for money, and value security above everything else. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it?
It really does. It's the blueprint most of us were given, I think.
But then there's the contrast. Rich Dad. This was his best friend's father.
And he wasn't highly educated, not in the academic sense anyway, but he had this profound financial wisdom, his whole philosophy. It was about building wealth, investing, and crucially, making money work for you.
That's the key difference right there.
Absolutely. And that setup, it just immediately challenges how we usually think about money and jobs and even education. It pushes this, what the book calls an entrepreneurial mindset.
Moving from employee thinking to owner thinking.
Yeah, exactly. From just consuming to actually investing strategically.
Okay, so that difference really sets the scene. And it leads right into one of the book's foundational ideas, which is that schools, well, they just don't teach how money really works. We go through all this education, get degrees, but maybe come out not really understanding personal finance basics.
It's a really powerful point he makes, isn't it? The book basically argues that knowing about taxes, debt, investments, cash flow, that stuff is way more valuable in the real world than just academic degrees alone.
More practical knowledge.
Yeah. Kiyosaki suggests that a lot of money problems people have, they don't necessarily come from a lack of money itself. It's often from a lack of financial knowledge.
So you could earn a lot, but still be stuck.
Exactly. Like being on a treadmill,
Yeah.
Running faster and faster, but not actually getting anywhere financially.
Okay, so one of the absolute game changers in the book, I think for a lot of people, is this distinction he makes between assets and liabilities.
Oh, definitely. That's huge.
It seems simple, but it really flips how you look at, everything you own. How does he define them? Because it's not the standard accounting definition, is it?
No, not exactly. It's much simpler and focused purely on cash flow. He says rich people, they focus on buying assets. And an asset, in his definition, is simply something that puts money in your pocket.
Puts money in. Okay. Like what?
Well, think about things like rental properties, where tenants pay you rent. Or stocks that pay dividends or maybe grow in value.
Okay.
Or a business you own that makes profits. Even intellectual property, like writing a book that earns royalties.
Things that generate income for you.
Right. Actively generating income, ideally without you having to constantly work for it. Passive income streams.
Got it. And then liabilities. These are the opposite.
Exactly the opposite. He argues that poor and middle-class folks often end up collecting liabilities. These are things that take money out of your pocket. But, and this is the tricky part, they often feel like assets.
Ah, okay. Creating a kind of illusion. Like what examples does he use?
The classic ones are things like a big house bought with a big mortgage. You've got the mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, repairs. It's constantly draining cash.
Right. Even though owning a home feels like a good thing.
Or a new car bought on credit. It loses value the second you drive it off the lot. Plus, you're paying for insurance, fuel, maintenance.
Taking money out, not putting it in.
Precisely. And then, expensive gadgets, consumer goods, things that might look like wealth but are actually just expenses.
So the rule is pretty simple then.
Super simple but powerful.
Yeah.
Buy things that generate income, not things that drain it. It just flips the script entirely on what we think of as markers of wealth. That fancy car looks great, but if it's costing you every month, it's a liability in his book.
Focus on building that asset column.
That's the core message. Build assets that work for you.
Okay, another thing the book pushes back against is the traditional idea of just chasing the highest salary possible.
Yeah, that one's pretty counterintuitive for a lot of us.
Totally. Society tells us maximize your earnings.
Yeah.
How does Rich Dad justify not doing that, potentially?
Well, it's not about avoiding income. It's about the purpose of the job, especially early on. Rich Dad's philosophy is about using jobs strategically
Strategically, how so?
to gain valuable skills. Skills like sales, marketing, communication, maybe leadership, even understanding systems or investing.
Ah, so work to learn, not just to earn.
Exactly. The book argues those skills are ultimately way more valuable than just the immediate paycheck. Why? Because they empower you to eventually create your own income sources.
Instead of just relying on an employer forever.
Right. It reframes why you take a job. It's not just the salary today. It's about building your capacity, your skills for future wealth creation, even if it means maybe a lower starting salary sometimes.
You're investing in yourself in a different way.
You got it. Building earning power, not just earning money.
Okay, this next lesson really kind of sums up the whole rich dad versus poor dad thing, I think. Poor dad's advice was simple. Work hard for money.
The standard work ethic message.
But rich dad, his wisdom was the opposite, wasn't it?
Completely. He said, let money work hard for you. And that is a fundamental shift in thinking.
How does that work in practice? Letting money work for you?
It means learning to invest, putting your money into those assets we talked about so the money itself starts to grow and generate more money passively.
So income that comes in even when you're sleeping, basically.
That's the ideal, yeah. It's about moving beyond just trading your time for a paycheck, that typical 9-to-5 grind. It's understanding that your capital, your money, can be an employee too, a very productive one if you manage it right.
Getting off that treadmill you mentioned earlier.
Precisely. Financial freedom, in his view.
Now, risk. Most of us are taught to avoid it, right? Especially with money. Play it safe, save, secure job.
The conventional wisdom, yeah. Don't lose money.
But this book takes a different angle on risk. It suggests maybe avoiding risk isn't always the safest path.
It's a really interesting point. While Poor Dad, representing the traditional view, avoids risk, Rich Dad teaches that wealthy people learn how to manage risk.
Manage it, not just avoid it.
Right. The book argues that just playing its safe, secure job savings account often keeps people stuck in what Kiyosaki calls the rat race.
That cycle of working, paying bills, never getting ahead.
Exactly. He argues that taking calculated risks is actually essential for real growth.
Calculated risks.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Not just gambling, presumably.
No, definitely not gambling. It's about being informed, strategic. Maybe it's investing in the stock market after doing research, or starting a small side business, or buying a rental property carefully.
So, educated risks.
Educated and managed. Understanding the potential downside, maybe diversifying, not risking money you absolutely can't afford to lose. It's about seeing opportunities where others only see risk and learning from setbacks instead of being paralyzed by them.
Which ties into the next point, I suppose. Rich Dad really pushes business ownership and investing.
As the primary paths to real financial freedom.
It's not just about managing money, but actively building things that generate it.
Absolutely. The ultimate goal, as Kiyosaki lays it out, is to get to a point where your passive income from your assets.
The money coming in without you working for it.
Right. Where that passive income is greater than your living expenses.
So you don't have to work anymore if you don't want to.
That's his definition of financial freedom. And he encourages starting small, learning as you go, and just continuously growing your investments or your business ventures.
Building the machine, like you said.
Yeah, building the machine that makes money instead of just being part of someone else's machine.
Okay, it's pretty easy to see why this book just exploded in popularity. It clearly has some major strengths.
Oh, definitely. I think a big part of it is just how accessible it is. That easy-to-read story format makes these potentially complex financial ideas, well, easy to grasp for almost anyone.
Yeah, you don't need a finance degree to understand the core ideas.
Not at all. And it's incredibly motivating. It really pushes people to think differently about money, about their jobs, about wealth. It challenges that traditional mindset head-on.
It teaches basic concepts simply.
Very simply. Assets, liabilities, cash flow. explained in plain language. And ultimately, it inspires them to think about investing, maybe starting something entrepreneurial, not just relying on a paycheck. And it really emphasizes lifelong learning about money.
It was kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people.
A huge wake-up call. It sort of democratized financial thinking for a whole generation, you could argue.
So we've talked about the impact and the strengths.
Yeah.
But like any really influential book, it's not without its critics, right? It's important to look at that side, too, to get a balanced view.
Absolutely essential.
Right.
And yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad definitely has its share of criticisms.
What are some of the main ones people bring up?
Well, one common one is that it's great on the why and the what, but maybe a bit light on the how.
Meaning?
Meaning it gets you fired up, changes your mindset, but it doesn't really give you detailed step-by-step instructions on how to actually go out and invest or how to analyze a real estate deal, for example.
So motivation without a clear action plan.
Sometimes it can feel that way for readers looking for practical guides. Another criticism you sometimes hear is that Kiyosaki might perhaps oversimplify or even exaggerate the examples for effect.
The two dads being very stark archetypes.
Exactly. It makes the points clear, but maybe lacks some real-world nuance. And some readers find parts of the book a bit repetitive.
Okay, reinforcing the main messages again and again.
Yeah, which, can be good for learning, but might frustrate some readers.
That point about practical application is interesting. And building on that, something else to consider is, does this advice work everywhere?
That's a really crucial question.
Because tax laws, real estate markets, even just the job culture.
Yeah.
It varies so much from country to country.
Hugely. So while those core mindset shifts financial literacy, focusing on assets are probably valuable anywhere. The specific tactics, the mechanics of how you invest in property or stocks or build a business, that can be heavily dependent on local laws, market conditions, regulations.
So it's not necessarily a universal how-to manual.
Definitely not. It's more like a universal how to think manual about money. You still need to figure out the specific application in your own context.
Okay, so summing things up then. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's not really a technical finance textbook, is it? You're not going to find complex formulas or deep market analysis.
No, not at all. It's fundamentally about changing your mindset about money. That's the core.
Thinking like an investor, not just an employee.
Right. Focusing on acquiring assets, things that generate income instead of liabilities, things that cost you money.
And valuing financial education, practical money smarts, maybe even more than traditional academic education sometimes.
Exactly. It redefines what being smart with money really means. It's not just about earning a high income, it's about building wealth.
So it's probably best seen as, what, like a starter guide? A foundation?
I think that's a great way to put it. A starter guide for developing that wealth-building mindset. It gets your head in the right space.
But if you're looking for the nuts and bolts, the detailed strategies.
Yeah, if you want the specific how-to for investing in index funds or analyzing rental property cash flow, you'll definitely need to follow up with other books or courses or maybe financial advisors. This book lights the fire, but doesn't necessarily give you the detailed blueprint for building the fireplace.
Got it. So, in short, the book's really about breaking free, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Breaking free from that rat race, as Kiyosaki calls it. Forging your own path to financial independence by thinking and ultimately acting, like the rich do. It's an invitation, really, to a whole different way of approaching your financial life.
So we've explored how Rich Dad, Poor Dad really shakes up conventional thinking. It pushes us, to question assumptions about job security, education, how we earn money, how we manage it.
Yeah, it forces you to look at your own financial life through a completely different lens.
Definitely.
So maybe here's a thought for everyone listening to take away. Think about your own finances, your own situation. Is there one thing in your life that you currently see as a liability, something that costs you money regularly? Could you, if you put on that entrepreneurial mindset the book talks about, could you maybe start to reframe that? Could you find a way to potentially turn it into an asset?
Turning a cost into an income stream.
Maybe. Could a skill you have, maybe even related to that liability or a hobby or even just rethinking how you use something, could it generate income? It's about looking for opportunities where you currently only see expenses.
That's a fascinating challenge. Really makes you think creatively. Well, we hope this deep dive has given you a good shortcut to understanding this really influential book.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey, this whole financial literacy thing.
For sure. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's often just that first, but maybe really crucial, step in rethinking your whole financial future.